gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Jake Williams Show, episode 23. I am your host, Jake Williams, and I have been very busy the last few weeks, but it's all been a labor of love. Hashtag expand the brand. I always screw that up. Expand the brand is in full effect in just January alone. And Jake's Rad movie show still hasn't premiered yet, and that will be coming this month in February. I just haven't nailed down exactly when I want to let that bad boy upon the world. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a great show. It's going to be different than the usual content that's on Loud and Opinionated, and I kind of want to branch out and do more videos like that and more ideas. When you see it, you'll understand. It's great. I can't wait for that. In the meantime, I mentioned how busy I've been, expand the brand, all that. The other two podcasts that are on Loud and Opinionated are fantastic, and I love the work we do on them. The Underachievers, which is the gaming podcast, we just relaunched. We relaunched that last Thursday. We're going to put that one out every 2 weeks because that one's a little bit harder than Loud Sports. We all live in different towns, and anybody that's followed this show and the evolution of Loud and Opinionated, you know how hard that can be. So we're going to be putting those out every 2 weeks, and I'm pretty excited about it. And Loud Sports, again, every week, that's going to be coming out. We're starting the transition out of just talking about football and moving into other sports. We talked a little bit about the NBA and the Anthony Davis trade and all that. Both those shows are up on loudandopinionated.com. There's just a tab there. You can click there. You can find the shows. Those are also on pretty much every other podcast service known to man. So, yes, check out those other shows and give them a like and subscribe on any platform that you use. It greatly helps. And my co-hosts, I couldn't do it without them. They are all great. And all the focus that I usually do with writing and putting out this show, it's nice to have them be just as passionate as I am and getting, show prepping and scheduling and making sure things go out on time. So thank you so much to the co-hosts. Thank you so much for the people that listen. Let's start the show. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than usual weeks. This week, a lot of stuff happened that I kind of want to touch on. And so it's going to be a little more scattershot and a little bit more broad. And I kind of want to start doing that more with this show. I love doing the general focus on something 20 to 30 minute style, but I also like the idea of stream of conscious, what I thought about what happened in the past week. So it's going to be an amalgamation of those things. I've also going to have some guests on the show soon. I have some ideas of people that I want to be on the show, and that's very exciting. And I'm going to slowly start working on the conspiracy episodes. I really want to do them, and I'm excited, and I'm glad I got all the feedback I did, but it's going to be a lot of work doing the ones that people suggested, and there's a few that I would like to cover. So a lot of different things are going to be happening with this show. Bear with me. This show has changed 3 or 4 times. It'll probably always keep changing, and that's why I love it. It's still always going to be the Jake Williams Show from now on, but I love the idea of it's always a little something different for you every week. So I want to first talk about the issue in Washington State with the measles outbreak there. And it drives me nuts how easy it is to stop all this stuff. Vaccinate your kids. I'll never understand the idea of anti-vax. I can't even say it. That's how crazy it is. The anti-vaxxers. I never get that idea that there's somehow a science that leads vaccinations to autism. Why would anybody believe that stuff? It's just not, it doesn't make any sense. Like, just on a logic level, on a simple layman's term, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not somebody that, I know people that work in the medical field, but I am not myself a doctor. And even I know that just doesn't make sense. Those things don't work. You can't get autism from a vaccination. And I understand how people can be worried about mercury levels, and there are some things to worry about there, but how can you not vaccinate your kid? It's probably the easiest thing you could do of any medical procedure. You go in to the doctor's office. I think the hardest part of doing it is the wait. Sitting in the doctor's office and reading bad old magazines, which everybody's got a smartphone now and a tablet. They'll find ways to entertain themselves. But that's probably the hardest part, is just waiting to go in there to then give the kid the shot. Sure, they'll probably fuss about it because nobody likes needles or shots, but that's the hardest part, is sitting and waiting in the doctor's office. And to think that these people that aren't scientists, aren't doctors, are saying, well, there's a connection between vaccinations and autism. That's stupid. That is just stupid. And it's not only is it selfish for you, because you're not vaccinating your kid, but it's also worse for everybody that your kid interacts with. Because if you all have, this idea that we don't need to do this, we don't need to vaccinate our kids, it's all lies, it's made up by the government or some stupid conspiracy, that anti-vaxxers, believe me, I'm going to go deep in on them soon. I'm going to get a buddy of mine that is in the medical field and will tell you that that is silly. Get your vaccinations. Don't be stupid. There's also this idea that, I didn't get a flu shot and I've never gotten the flu. That's lucky, but that's not, you're the outlier here. You're the exception. You got lucky that you didn't get sick. It doesn't immediately mean that it doesn't work. It baffles me how stupid some people really can be. And I don't like to... I try my best not to attack people and go after them. I know I broke that rule a few weeks ago when I talked about the border. But I can't help it with anti-vaxxers. I have to make fun of them because it's just ridiculous. And I pray I get some anti-vaxxers to comment on the YouTube video clip of this, because I just pray that happens, because I love to hear them try to defend it. There's no defending it. It's not possible, but I love hearing the idea that they think they can, because I'll simply just say, no, that's not how that works. And I get it. You probably think, whoa, this is just a guy that's yelling in his apartment on a podcast to like 20 subscribers, if that. What does he know anything about anti-vaxxers? I know enough to know you need to get vaccinations. That's just common knowledge. It doesn't take a genius to know that. Vaccinate your kids. Last I checked, too, with the anti-vaxxers, I was looking this up. Wasn't Jenny McCarthy kind of like the spearhead behind that with autism? You know what she's doing right now? She's hosting The Masked Singer on Fox. The Masked Singer. That's the person you believe that knows what she's talking about? Not a medical professional? Or these fake scientists? Believe me, I've seen the things online about these scientists saying that there's a connection. These are the same people that say that climate change isn't real. I'll get into that too in a minute. Actually, you know what? Let's get into it right now, because anti-vaxxers I want to dedicate a whole episode to. And I want to get somebody with more knowledge on the subject to be more convincing than just me yelling at you to vaccinate your kids. But that should be all you need. So let's talk about the Polar Vortex that happened a few days ago, if you're listening to this when this posts. Otherwise, January 30th and 31st was when the big polar vortex happened for the northern part of the United States and the Midwest. We all got hit with record low temperatures. And I think the lowest it got where I live in Des Moines, Iowa, I think the lowest it ever got was -20. And I think Chicago was like -52. So we didn't get as bad as other places. But yeah, this polar vortex was no joke, man. And this goes back to what I was saying a little bit ago. I think it all just is about negligence. That's the theme of this episode. But when you see people, I think 11 people died that I know of. I think 11. Don't quote me on that number. I could be off. But people actually died because of this, and I don't think people took this as seriously as they should have. I think I've lived in the Midwest my whole life, and I know that aspect of living here, and I'm this way in the summer a lot, not so much in the winter, because I don't want to mess around with winter. But, you know, in the summer, I grew up in Nebraska, so I was in Tornado Alley. So whenever tornado warnings would happen and the sirens and all that stuff, I was definitely a little nervous, and I did everything I needed to. I'd find a bathroom or a basement, or, you know, the procedures that you go through for tornado. I do them, but I'm not super urgent about them, maybe, and that's just me being used to hearing the sirens and nothing happening. So living in the Midwest, you see a lot of those things, you hear a lot of those things, and bad things do happen. But you're just hardened to it, you're used to it. And I think that also applies to the winter. So when something like this polar vortex happens, I don't think people were as prepared as they thought they would be, because, you know, unfortunately the people that died in this weather, it's and parents, oh God, we want to talk about negligence. Here's where it is. Parents that don't put enough clothing on their kids when it's going to be -20. Thankfully, a lot of schools canceled because of the weather. But if any sort of time that you need to leave the house, you have to cover like every part of your skin to go outside. You're not supposed to have deep breaths. You're not supposed to talk. Like, you just need to get from point A to point B. You get outside, you get somewhere else. And I don't think people took that as seriously as they should have. Because it's not new. This is the coldest it's ever been in 25 years. I think early 90s is when it's the last time it was this cold. So people aren't conditioned to be this cold. It's always cold in the Midwest in the winter. From, I would say, mid-October until April. I mean, it snowed in April here last year, but till April, it's cold in some degree. So we're very used to the cold, but I don't think people realize how cold that really was. And thankfully, a lot of people took it seriously in the administrative roles, and a lot of schools were closed, and people weren't going outside, because, man, oh man, that was not a good situation to be in. I had to work, so I actually did go out in that weather. And I was so funny about it, because I actually took one of Ashley's scarves, and I told her I need a scarf the night before, and she kind of just chuckled it off, and I'm like, no, I'm serious. I want to have something to cover my face. Like, I'm not letting any part of me get exposed to the air. I'm not going to be, no, I don't want, because it was like, within minutes, you could get frostbite. Like, it would be like that. So, she didn't really believe me. So the next morning, also I want to point out that she got a flat tire the night before the polar vortex hit us. So she had to, like, and it was, I don't even know how far I would say from our apartment. Thankfully it was close, but the air just went out of the tire. So she had to drive into our apartment complex on a flat tire, and had to take my parking spot, and I had to park somewhere else, close, like very close to the apartment. So it was not an ideal situation for us. So now we had to figure out how to get a tire changed in this kind of weather. And then I had to, get up early. And I don't like to get up early. I had to take her to work. I'd much rather get up to normal times, because I'm lazy like that. But I sacrifice. No, I'm kidding. There's no chance I would ever not take her to work and help her out. That would just be a horrible, horrible thing to do as a person and a boyfriend. Don't be a dick. So we had that to deal with the night before all this stuff was happening. And then I say she wants a scarf, and then she kind of laughed me off. But no, I did. I took a scarf. I just wrapped it around my head like I was a mummy. Put on my Tampa Bay Lightning beanie on top, real snug. I mean, if you could imagine how I was looking, it was like a ninja. It was kind of like, well, kind of something like this I'm showing for the video, people. Watch the video to get the full effect. We need more YouTube viewers. No, I'm kidding. I looked like a ninja. There was like a very little amount of, something like that, yeah. Very little amount of face exposure. I just needed enough for my eyes to be out so I could see. And she kind of laughed at me at how like bundled up I was. But then I look at her and she's just as bundled up, if not more bundled up than I am. Because I had a hoodie and I had this big coat. Point is, it was a rough day for 2 days if you lived in those polar vortex affected areas. Thursday wasn't as bad. We got to, I think we got up to 5 degrees at one point. Yeah, I know. Exciting stuff. 5 degrees. But yeah, the bigger conversation out of the polar vortex, and this is almost the same as saying that vaccines cause autism, were the arguments that because of this polar vortex. And I don't understand why when something like this happens, some sort of disaster, whether it be a hurricane or tornado or the polar vortex, we have to, and it's gotten to this point where we have to, well, it's been like this for a while, but we have to politicize every aspect of this. Instead of, hey, this is serious and we should take this very seriously and worry about this, we have people that are immediately going to make this a political thing and say, well, global warming can't exist if the polar vortex happens. Look how cold it is. And you had that one governor, some sort of politician, saying that we're too soft. You really want kids to be outside? I think it was in Kentucky. So it was cold, unusually cold in that state, but it wasn't the levels of what we had, so he still has to mock it and be like, well, we're getting too soft. Kids can't go to school because it's cold. You should not have anybody standing outside in negative 50-degree weather. I don't know if he actually came out to say that was a joke, but it sounds like the usual, well, back in my day, we walked up a hill in 4 feet of snow backwards, that kind of stuff. Let's stop. Let's be serious about this. These are kids and weather. It's also because I'm a millennial and I hate the idea that people think millennials are soft. We're not soft. We just don't know what gender we are. Okay? It's a spectrum. But no, here's the thing. Global warming is not used by scientists. It's climate change. And then there's the old argument of climate change is global warming. They're the same thing. And they get upset when I say that you can't compare something like the polar vortex to climate change, and that's not how this whole thing works. And I'm not going to go into, like, I could go full bore and make this all about climate change and all about the effects of it and how this isn't what you think it is. It's something different. I could go all into that, and I would love to, but I'd much rather talk to somebody that knows more on the subject and get more insight that way. So I'm not going to say I'm an expert on climate change, but I am going to tell you that people that say that the polar vortex is an example of why these things can't exist, don't listen to them, because they're not a scientist and they don't know what they're talking about, much like I'm not trying to claim that I know everything about climate change. Do research. Don't listen to people that are just doing podcasts or radio shows. Take what they say with a grain of salt. So another thing that happened this week that I wanted to talk about, and I had to step back from them for a moment and look at it from a different perspective than what I have. Not the fanboy that I am, but a logical thinking person. And DC has finally announced that they are moving forward with Batman, and it's going to be the Batman with Matt Reeves that we knew. So those weren't just, like, that was confirmed, but I want to say maybe last year or so, but nothing's come out of it until now. So we know that this movie is coming out. It is coming from Matt Reeves, and is going to be more of a detective-style Batman, and I kind of like that. We don't see a lot of the detective aspect, good lord, of Batman in a lot of these movies. A lot of it's just, it's a brief little montage. I'm wondering if they're going to make it more of like he's going to have this whole noir type story, which would be really cool because it'd be a different take on Batman and something new for movies. And that's what I love about him as a character is you can do that. You can tell a lot of different stories in different styles with Batman. Tim Burton's Batman movies are vastly different than Joel Schumacher's or Christopher Nolan's or Batman v Superman and Justice League. Like, I love how they're all different takes and that it can work with Batman. This excites me because Matt Reeves, he did a great job with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes. Those movies are some of my favorite science fiction movies. I really loved what they did with the Planet of the Apes reboot, and him knowing that he did the second and third movies where the movies just kept getting better and better. I'm really happy that he's involved with this because I think a lot of that style would work great in a Batman movie. The way that Caesar's handled in those second and third movies, the brutality of the situation, but the humanizing moments in those movies, I think would play well with Bruce Wayne and Batman and that duality of his characters. I want to see it. I'm in. I don't know what they're going to do for the Batman. We know now that Ben Affleck is passing the torch, which kind of sucks because I actually liked Batfleck. Luke, who I used to do this podcast, the Batcast with on 402 Films, YouTube. Him and I were actually huge defenders of Batfleck. And him and I both really liked Batfleck, and I think he's taking it pretty hard, harder than I am. And I'm gonna have him on the show next week, as well as Tommy Knapp, and we're gonna dive into that whole situation because I know he'll want to talk about that. But yeah, we don't know who it's gonna be. I saw that Nick Jonas threw his hat in the ring. Please, Nick, don't be serious about that. Nobody really wants to see that for Batman. We've already experimented with characters with Jared Leto's Joker, and we kind of learned not to do that. Also, what's going on with Joker? Is he still in 3 movies? Because he's supposed to be in that Suicide Squad movie, I guess, and then there's the Joker and Harley Quinn movie, which I don't think is happening. So that's going on, and then you've got him maybe being involved in a Batman movie. I don't know what they're doing. And then they got like 3 different versions. What's going on with the Joker? Can we just decide to put him away? Can we just put him in a vault somewhere and then maybe 5 years later we can bring him back into the fold? I'm someone who loves the Joker. I said the Joker was the greatest villain of all time. In some podcasts, I'm sure. But it's true. He's the greatest villain of all time, and he's getting oversaturated. And when you're seeing, is not very good. And, you can say, well, Jake, you said the same thing about Batman. There's different takes, and it's a vastly different thing. Sure, that you can make that argument, but the difference is, if it was a bad Batman, they got it fixed. And they didn't try to make 3 different versions of that character. If they made a mistake, they stopped, waited a while, and then tried again. That's what happened from Batman Forever to Batman Begins. That's a long break there, and it was almost 10 years. And people loved it. And there was 3 years from that to The Dark Knight, and then 4 years from The Dark Knight to The Dark Knight Rises. If we're going to try and reinvent a character, we can't keep doing it every couple of years. You have to give it more time and see what works. And the reason why I think it works more for just Batman and not the Joker is you don't have vastly different performances. You don't have a Jared Leto, you don't have a Jack Nicholson, Joaquin Phoenix, all those different performances and nuances aren't necessarily the same as all the different Batmans. Batman. That's what I'm trying to get at. Overall, though, can we just keep the Joker out of movies? Please. We also saw some other news from Margot Robbie on her Instagram. We're getting the Birds of Prey movie, which actually I think is really cool. I like the idea of taking the most popular character from Suicide Squad and knowing that Margot Robbie, whatever you think about Suicide Squad, I think the best performances in that movie were Margot Robbie and Will Smith. So having her get another chance at this character, I'm into. And I like the fact that we're going with the Birds of Prey approach. We're having a more female-driven movie. DC has really leaned into that, where Marvel, I think, is going that direction with Captain Marvel, but it seems like DC was just more willing to have women and their female superheroes in movies sooner, but maybe that's just me overanalyzing it. But it also could be because of the huge success of Wonder Woman. I'm just saying, think about it. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I don't know what exactly is going to happen with the story, but like I said, I think the most enticing thing of that is having Margot Robbie play that character again, because she was great as Harley. I liked her Harley. The rest of the movie, I have very mixed feelings about it. We also know that this one makes me laugh, that DC Super Pets is real and has a release date. We don't have a proper Green Lantern in whatever this universe is supposed to be, but we're getting a Super Pets movie. I don't know what to say. Did they not learn from Teen Titans Go to the Movies? A great movie, loved it, but it didn't do well in the box office. Did we not learn from that? I don't think people are gonna line up to see Ace the Bat Hound or Crypto in a movie. It's really hard for me to see that happening. Could be wrong. Could be very wrong. If I'm Warner Brothers, I'm just riding the coattails of the Lego movies. Just keep making Lego Batman movies. We don't need DC Super Pets. Some of the leadership choices that's going on with DC, as a fan, I'm a little worried, and I'm someone who day one got DC Universe. I had it for a few months, and then I got rid of it. I started the first episode of Titans. I actually kind of liked it, but I just never got around to watching again. So I'm in a weird place. I'm probably going to pick up DC Universe again, because I don't know exactly when Swamp Thing is coming, but I love Swamp Thing, and I hope they do a really cool thing with it. I've heard that Doom Patrol was great in Titans, and that show is going to be coming the 15th, I believe, on the DC Universe. But the problem is they're doing the weekly thing. Just give it all to me now. Give me every episode. Just give it all now. So on the TV side of things, the Arrowverse is still going strong. They're making these announcements. Doom Patrol is coming. Titans has already got a season 2. They're trying to, I think Reign of Superman is already on the app. They're trying to keep that going, sustain that, and they can seem to make good TV universes, but they can't figure out movie universes. And changing at Batfleck, and I get it, he didn't want to do it anymore. You had to move on. But changing that and then doing the Birds of Prey thing, while cool, makes me wonder how this is still connected. Because as fun as Aquaman was, I don't know, they mentioned Justice League once in that movie, and then I'm also thinking, how is this going to be tied now? Because we still don't know if Superman's coming back. Are we continuing this universe? We still have a new Wonder Woman movie. TV side of things, they seem to know what they've got. But on the movie side of things, I don't know what's going on. I'm rambling for minutes on DC because I care so much. I can't be the logic person anymore. I have to be the angry fanboy. What are you doing, DC? What are you trying to accomplish, Warner Brothers? Okay? We got the Super Friends movie, but we don't have a Green Lantern Corps. Idris Elba would be a fantastic Jon Stewart, and you wasted Chris Pine, because Chris Pine would have been an awesome Hal Jordan, but you could get a viable Hal Jordan. But no, we gotta have a movie about Crypto, the super dog, and Ace the Bat Hound. And how many super pets are there? What are you doing? And also, are we doing Flashpoint? We starting this whole thing over, or are we still going with the DCEU. How are you going to explain this Batman? All of a sudden, Batfleck is gone. What's going to happen there? I love you, DC, but you continue to hurt me. I think that's all I wanted to talk about this week. Please check out the other shows on Loud and Opinionated. They are all with this show up on loudandopinionated.com. You just click the tab, all the episodes. Well, the new update, there's a couple episodes there. You can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. All these shows are on those platforms. If you love sports and you love when I talk sports, check out Loud Sports. If you love when I talk about games, check out the Underachievers. That's all you got to do. And I bet you like the other hosts because they're not as ranty as I am. And they have facts and logic. Thank you so much for listening or watching or however you consumed the Jake Williams Show. Thank you so much for supporting me, supporting Loud and Opinionated, supporting all of this. I could not do it without you guys. And I love making these shows for you. And let's expand the brand. It's been a lot bigger workload, but it has been worth every second of my time. I cannot wait to give you guys Jake's Rad Movie Show. It's starting off with a doozy of a movie. That's all I'll say. I'm not going to say anything more. And yeah, be loud. Well, no. I got to still keep plugging things. Check us out on Facebook, Loud and Opinionated. Loud Opinionated on Twitter. You can also follow Loud Sports, their Twitter at Loud Sports Pod, and the Underachievers is at Under A Games. Follow those accounts. We're working hard on social media game, especially for the other shows. So, follow those. Follow us on Instagram at Loud and Opinionated Brand. It's no longer pod, it's brand. Because Loud and Opinionated is a brand. It's a way of life. And if you want to be a part of that way of life, all you got to do is email us at beloud@loudandopinionated.com. It's a blog post, so, I would say 300 to 1,000 words. If it's longer than that, that's fine. We can get that set up for you. And any images you want to use in the piece, be sure to credit where the photo comes from, because you got to credit photographers, man. You can't just be taking stuff off the internet. So, yeah, as I always say with this show, be loud,